suffering, and also the reason why so much of bloodshed has to happen, right? So, how Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira has satisfied Lord Krishna by his way of rule. So, we'll understand this and contrast this with the modern ideas of uh, political institutions, democracy, and things like that. So, now let's read the verse. ततो युधिष्ठिरा गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
सान्त्वयामास
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीं
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीं
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीं
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम् ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सान्त्वयामास
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
तपस्विनी
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
नो गजाव्ययम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
पितरां सान्त्वयामास
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीं
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्. Anybody from online?
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
Sorry, 1 second. Can anybody repeat again? I think we.
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
सः कृष्णो गजाह्वयम्
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
पितरं सान्त्वयामास
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्
गान्धारीं च तपस्विनीम्. ततः thereafter युधिष्ठिरः महाराज युधिष्ठिरा गत्वा going there सः with कृष्णः the Lord Gajahvayam in the capital named Gajahvapara Gajahrapa Hastinapura Pitaram unto his uncle Dhritarashtra Shantvayamasa specified Gandharim wife of Dhritarashtra Cha and Tapasvinim an ascetic lady. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Thereafter Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira at once went to his capital Hastinapura accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. Kindly repeat the translation. Thereafter Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira at once went to his capital Hastinapura accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic.
was a necessity.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, the father and mother of Duryodhana and his brothers, were the elder uncle and aunt of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the celebrated couple, having lost all their sons and grandsons, were under the care of Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. They were passing their days in great agony over such heavy loss of life and were practically living the life of ascetics. The death news of Bhishmadeva, uncle of Dhritarashtra, was another great shock for the king and the queen, and therefore they required solace from Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira was conscious of his duty, and he at once hurried to the spot with Lord Krishna and satisfied the bereaved Dhritarashtra with kind words both from himself and the Lord also. Gandhari was a powerful ascetic. Although she was living the life of a faithful wife and a kind mother, it is said that Gandhari was also voluntarily closed her eyes because of the blindness of her husband. A wife's duty is to follow the husband 100%. And Gandhari was so true to her husband that she followed him even in his perpetual blindness. Therefore, in her actions, she was a great ascetic. Besides that, the shock which she suffered because of the wholesale killing of her 100 sons and her grandsons also was certainly too much for a woman. But she suffered all this just like an ascetic. Gandhari, although a woman, is no less than Bhishmadeva in character. They are both remarkable personalities in the Mahabharata. Since the Bhaktivedanta purport of Gnanadimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nijinamine Namaste Saraswati Devye Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasya Chadeshatharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarunta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the context is that Maharaj Yudhishthira was not interested in becoming the emperor of the world. He felt that he was thoroughly responsible for massive massacre of, humongous amount of population, and he was thoroughly feeling guilty of that huge sin, and he was not to be convinced by anybody, including such great rishis like Vyasadeva. And then even when Lord Krishna himself was trying to convince him, Yudhishthira Maharaj was not convinced. And then they all decide that let's go and hear from great political leader and great saintly person, Mahajana Bhishmadeva. So Bhishmadeva convinces Yudhishthira Maharaj to occupy the throne. In fact, he calls him as, Maharaja. He calls him as the emperor. Okay? And he addresses him on various matters. And after addressing on various such matters of political, how to rule the world and things like that, then when at an opportune time when Bhishmadeva wished to go back to Godhead, he changed his focus from political discourses, varnashram responsibilities, duties of a householder, and so many other subjects to pure transcendental knowledge, pure transcendental science. And he focused exclusively on Lord Sri Krishna and his Leelas, and then he went back to Godhead. All the sages who were assembled there, they were quite happy to see how such a great personality has set a great precedence on how one can go back to Godhead, even though he was in the midst of so many political turmoil so many dualities, even though so many divinities were tormenting Bhishma Deva, how Bhishma Deva still maintained such a transcendental consciousness, the great sages were quite happy with that. So, having then cremated and performed the final rituals for Bhishma Deva, Yudhishthira is now going to reign the entire world. So, when Yudhishthira is going to reign the entire world, what should be the opening statement from Srimad Bhagavatam should be, right? Ideally, the opening statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam should be that how the entire Hastinapura was decorated. Huh? We see, right, the same kind of description in the Ramayana when Ramachandra was to be coronated. So wonderful description of Ayodhya is there. So we'd also assume that when Yudhishthira is going to become the king of the world, emperor of the whole world, okay, so the citizens would be happy and blah blah and all that kind of a very picturesque, description you would be assuming Srimad Bhagavatam would be listing. But actually speaking, immediately what is told is how Yudhishthira was so conscious about his duty. He would have arrested Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, right? For they were the cause of, their attachment was cause of the entire massacre. He would have done that. He didn't do that. He would have heavily chastised them for doing such a heinous work. Right? He didn't do that. Okay? But rather, as a fully responsible and fully discerning, monarch, he saw the other side of the story. He felt compassionate to the ignorant uncle and his aunt. His uncle was not only perpetually blind, he was also intellectually blind. Owing to his intellectual blindness, only we could see that such a great massacre couldn't be avoided. Even though such great personalities, Jai Shishi, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maiya ki jai, Subhadra Vitai ki jai. Even though such great personalities like say, 3 out of the 12 Mahajanas went and tried to explain to Maharaj Yudhishthira how such a massive massacre could be avoided if he gives up his attachment. He couldn't give his attachment. Even Lord Krishna personally came to explain, but still, he couldn't give up his attachment. So difficult is this. Think about giving up one's attachment. So having understood that how much a person who's having such kind of an attachment, okay, will be suffering so much, right? If a person has very so much attachment he had, that he wanted to have his own son to become the king, he wanted all of his 100 sons to prosper, and how devastated that person would be, when all of his plans were en masse destroyed. All of his hopes were en masse destroyed. Yudhishthira was able to see the other side of the coin of his arch enemy. The arch enemy, arch rival, who has caused such a massacre, okay, even to him, Yudhishthir Maharaj was now looking at pacifying them. How could he pacify them when he himself was cause of the death of his son, of the sons of Dhritarashtra, right? Correct? He would have thought like that. Maybe I'll just leave them, okay, leave them onto themselves. let them cry in their agony, let's ignore that subject, right? He didn't do that. So he didn't punish them. He didn't give any capital punishment. He didn't give them any kind of imprisonment. He didn't give any kind of chastisement. He didn't ignore them. Rather, he went to console them. Okay? So this shows the kind of consciousness, you know, a monarch should have, so that so it's like otherwise there's a lot of vengeance, right. What is the quality of a kshatriya? Ishvara bhavam, right. He has the what you call, the tendency to rule the world, the tendency to rule the people, right. So with that tendency, you would also have the controlling tendency, right? Lording over tendency on the subjects, right? Okay. And when you have that thing, and when somebody is, affecting that particular tendency, and this person naturally will become envious. Naturally, he will become very, very disheartened. Naturally, he would want to take, pratikara, reciprocatory actions against the person, revengeful and vengeful actions, right? But we see how, Srimad Bhagavatam opens the statement about how Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, went to Hastinapura in a rush because he was aware that he has to first console Shantvaya Masa. Okay, he had the asha to pacify Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Such is the great consciousness of Maharaj Yudhishthira. So Prabhupada says Maharaj Yudhishthira was conscious of his duty, and he at once hurried to the spot with Lord Krishna and satisfied the begrieved. He's not grieved, he is begrieved. Okay, it's like a, again, what you call a I can't answer. Superlative tense. Okay, begrieved Dhritarashtra with kind words both from himself and the Lord also. Okay, so this is the great position of Yudhishthira Maharaj. That these are the reasons why Lord Krishna wanted Yudhishthira to reign over this entire earth. So let's move on to the next verse. Pitra Chanumato Raja वासुदेवानुमोदितः चकार राज्यं धर्मेण पितृपैतामहं विभुः पित्रा चानुमतो राजा वासुदेवानुमोदितः चकार राज्यं धर्मेण पितृपैतामहं विभुः पित्रा चानुमतो राजा वासुदेवानुमोदितः चकार राज्यं धर्मेण पैतामहं विभुः. Anybody would like to repeat online?
पित्रा च अनुमतो राजा
पित्रा चानुमतो राजा
वासुदेव अनुमोदितः
वासुदेव अनुमोदितः
चकार राज्यं धर्मेण
चकार राज्यं धर्मेण
पितृपैतामहं विभुः
पितृपैतामहं विभुः. पित्रा by his uncle Dhritarashtra, Cha and Anumataha with his approval, Raja King Yudhishthira, Vasudeva Anumoditaha, confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna, Chakara executed, Rajyam the kingdom, Dharmena in compliance with the codes of royal principles.
the codes of royal principles.
Pitra,
Pitra,
father,
father,
Paitamaham,
Paitamaham,
forefather,
forefather,
Vibhuhu,
Vibhuhu,
as great as.
great as.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Sharanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. After this, the great religious king Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles which were approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Kindly repeat the translation. After this,
After this,
the great religious king
the great religious king
Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira
Yudhiṣṭhira
executed
executed
the royal power
royal power
in the kingdom
in the kingdom
strictly
strictly
according to the codes
according to the codes,
and royal principles
royal principles,
which were approved
were approved
by his uncle
uncle
and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna.
confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna.
So here the word the great religious king is not there in the word to word meaning, right? This is the uh, additional qualifying statement made by Srila Prabhupada. In after going through the word dharmena and anumataha of both the Dhritarashtra, Pitra anumataha and Vasudeva anumoditaha, he is ruling. That's why he becomes a great religious king. Okay, let's read the purport. As I said, this is a very interesting purport. From now onwards, till around verse 10 of next chapter. Okay, dealing with how Yudhishthira Maharaj has satisfied Lord Sri Krishna by his way of ruling, and eventually Krishna leads towards Dwaraka. Hmm? So let's see the purport. Maharaj Yudhishthira was not a mere tax collector. He was always conscious of his duty as a king, which is no less than that of a father or spiritual master. The king is to see to the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. The king must know that human life is meant for liberating the engaged soul from the bondage of material conditions, and therefore his duty is to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain this highest stage of perfection. Maharaj Yudhishthira followed these principles strictly, as it will be seen from the next chapter. Not only did he follow the principles, but he also got approval from his old uncle, who was experienced in political affairs, that was also confirmed by Lord Krishna, the speaker of the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Maharaj Yudhishthira is the ideal monarch, and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaj Yudhishthira is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics or governments of the people by the people. The mass of people, especially in this age of Kali, are all born Shudras, basically low born, ill trained, unfortunate, and badly associated. Therefore, they themselves do not know the highest perfectional aim of life. Therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus, persons selected by such irresponsible words cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Thus, since the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the first canto, ninth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Passing Away of Bhishma Deva in the Presence of Lord Krishna. So, this is a very, very interesting subject. which Srila Prabhupada has summarized in one simple purport. We should understand Srila Prabhupada has studied economics, he has studied logic, he studied political science when he was a student in Scottish Church College. Okay, Prabhupada also recalls some of the professor names also, under whom he has studied these things. So here we are talking about a welfare state. Contrasting of the modern concept of welfare state versus a welfare state which is conceived under the Vedic understanding. In the modern welfare system, in the modern welfare state, of which is everybody talks about democracy as the basis. What is the fundamental, important thing in a democracy? What is the fundamental assumption in a democracy so that democracy will work properly? What is the fundamental thing?
Rulers are elected by the people.
Voters are elected. Sorry?
Rulers.
Rulers are elected by the people. Okay. Correct. So what's wrong with that?
Assumption is that the ruler is conscious of his duty.
The assumption is that the ruler is conscious of his duty. Whose assumption it is?
The voters is that
The voters assume that the particular ruler is conscious of their welfare. Correct? Their welfare. Okay. What else? What are the other fundamental things of democratic rule?
Anyone is eligible to.
Hmm?
Anyone is eligible to contest and.
Anyone is eligible
Unlike
to
a dynastic,
contest.
Unlike in a dynastic.
Unlike in a dynastic monarchy rule, where not everybody is eligible. Here, even a tea seller also can become the prime minister. Right? Everybody is eligible. Okay. There's not only an adult franchise, there is also everybody is eligible to become the ruler of the country. Okay. Anybody else online? I would like this to be a little bit more.
Government is of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Okay, yes, government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Yes. So now Prabhupada makes a very bold statement. Right here, Prabhupada makes a very bold statement. He is by far the most superior form of government. Okay. Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira is the ideal monarch and monarchy under a trained king. So you see the adjective used by Prabhupada. He is not an ordinary king, he is a trained king. And who is like, what kind of a king he is? He is like Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira. He is by far the most superior form of government. Why is it so? And superior to modern republics or governments of the people and by the people. The Prabhupada did not use the word. Okay, so he used the word not in a democratic government. He used the word republic. Who is a republic? Which is a country? When will it be called as a republic? When the country has no king, also even a representative king, like the way in England. In England, there is a kind of just a naam ke vaste or representative king only. Okay, he doesn't have any powers. The entire powers are with the parliament. So it's not like that. India is a socialistic, democratic, secular republic. And these are the words which are there in the constitution. Socialistic, democratic, secular, and one more G is there, I forgot. Democratic Republic, SSDR. Yeah, socialistic, secular, democratic republic. There's one more S is there, I forgot. Okay. So this is there, right? It is a republic. Sovereign, correct. Socialistic, sovereign, secular, democratic Republic of India. I mean, India is called like that, that constitution qualifies like that, right? So Prabhupada is saying modern republics are failing. And the alternative is not some other system, but a very well-trained king. So now let's agree or disagree on this. Okay. Not from the religious standpoint. Let's use the very secular arguments. Okay. So I would ask all of you. Okay. Recently, silver fell crazily. First of all, crazily it went up. Okay. And suddenly it fell. Right? I think some X percentage, the price went down. I would ask you all, either online or offline, how many of us have understood it? Hmm? How many of us has understood it?
People who are following it might know what the reason.
Maybe people who are following it might know. Hmm?
It went up, why it went up.
Huh?
Why it went up,
Why it went up, why it went down. What was the popular news which had come out with? Trump has appointed some other person as the governor of RBI, like the Fed, head of the Federal Bank or Federal Reserve of United States. Okay, and apparently he is not a person who is favorable to the current system, and hence the prices fell or something like that. One of the rhetoric which had come out in the media. Okay, that everybody has heard. Then somebody else had said, no, it is not because of that. There is this bank called as JP Morgan Chase. Okay, JP Morgan has done a short. Okay, in the derivatives, there is something called as short derivatives. And what are the other one?
Long.
Long. Short derivatives and long derivatives. Okay, so they have done a short derivative, and owing to which the prices crash tremendously. Now tell me one thing. Huge loss has happened in this exchange. For how many people? Probably millions of people would have lost that money. But one person has earned it. Who is that? JP Morgan Chase. Right? Isn't that looting money? And after looting the money, they are going away saying that it is not because of me, it is because of Fed. A new person has come, create that news in the media, pay the media. Media will just resonate whatever is happening. Okay, the overall theme is that they are not happy with the Trump. Use that as a theme and make money. Right? So, how many common folks have understood this? How many common folks have understood why Indian rupee is falling against the dollar? So, today's economic world is so complicated. Economics is complicated. Foreign policy is complicated. Right? Huh? The citizens' welfare is dependent on many institutions, right? Like healthcare policies. Hmm? How many individuals would be able to understand the implication of their ignorance or their lack of knowledge in voting the right people on the policy making? Right? Very few people, right? Very few people, right? Most of us, what are we bothered about? Roti kapda makan. Right? We are all just bothered about our 4 meals or 3 meals in a day for 4 people in our home. Okay. So there is actually incentivization of ignorance. What's the incentivization of ignorance? How will my single vote will actually matter? Correct? My single vote will not matter. There are so many millions of people are there to vote. My single vote will not matter. And since my single vote will not matter, I will not myself just educate myself with all these political nuances. I'll just go by some headwinds which are there in the media and treat this political subject like that of a sports. Correct, no? In sports, in the TV, India versus Pakistan, or RCB versus some other thing when it happens. What they will think? Okay, now RCB should win, so some other state should win. Chennai Kings should lose. So Chennai becomes enemy for Bangaloreans. Okay, so this is how political agenda is. They're thinking. The ordinary citizens who are not applying brains in these things, so they will end up, assuming even politicals also as simplified as like a sport, and they get swayed by identity politics. Now look at the political establishment who wants to always retain their power. What they will get into? They will get into ideological fights. Okay, the naming and shaming, identity politics, and avoid all the essential issues. Because they know that mass segment of people are swayed by this ignorance, and then they just, ensure that they're in the power. Now then there comes this kind of capitalists. See, nicely Prabhupada says, all four words he uses: social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. These four words are different. They have different connotations, right? We have understood political. How about economic? Right? Central banks, they can play a very huge role. Okay? Like the stock exchange, SEBI, they have a huge role to play, right? To regulate the, money of the common public, right? And if these institutions are not properly monitored, right, what would happen? Again, same problem. We have seen, right, how many banks have failed in the last some 10 few years or back. And where is all that money coming from? General public's money only. General public's money only was used to, just uh, bankroll these banks, right? Nothing else could be done, right? So these institutions are very important. Everything has to be properly monitored, right? So economic upliftment. So these are again another set of institutions which are balancing the power in democracy. Actually, they say, democracy has four pillars. What are the four pillars of democracy? Judiciary, legislative,
Press is one of
yes,
them.
press,
Executive and media.
executive. So four are there. What is the judiciary, executive,
Judiciary, legislative, executive,
judiciary,
media.
legislative, executive,
Media.
media. So what is that? First, all the people who are eligible to vote, they'll vote some members as members of the parliament, and members of the parliament will go and pass one law. Okay, the law, so they are the parliament who enacts the law, and the law is executed by the executionary or the bureaucracy, right? All the IAS and administrative officers and IPS officers, they will execute the law. And if there is any discrepancy in the execution of law by the administrators, then comes the judiciary. Now, if all the three functions are not functioning properly, then there is this media, right? These are considered traditionally as four pillars of democracy. Now, today, in all the four pillars of democracy, there is huge amount of influence. There is huge amount of influence of money, vested interests. Now there are enough secular political theories which say that democracy is failing. Democracy is not an answer to the modern issues which are being faced by the public at large. Hmm? They talk about so many things. Now, if you see here, they talk about like say, oh, there should be political discourse in the schools. In the schools, there should be training of children to understand their rights, their voting rights. They should be able to train themselves to discern which ideology is right or not for them, and all of those things. Okay. On the contrary, here we see there are three different trainers in the society. Hmm? As a contrast, in the society there were supposed to be three sets of trainers. Who are they? First, the king or the administrator. Second, the spiritual master or the guru. And then comes the father. Okay. So at a very micro level, there is a father in a particular family training the children, training the family towards the ultimate goal. Then there is a spiritual master at a probably at a village level or at a society level, guiding the little larger segment of people towards the ultimate goal. And to ensure whether the entire society is going in a right direction or not, then there are the administrators, the king and the administrators. In all of those three, they are all duty bound. More than the rights they want to demand from the people, they are more focused on their duty. Nay, not only duty. In the case of Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj, it's not just duty, it goes on to be even love. He has such a love for his citizens. Okay, so he is having that true sense of being responsible. You would see, as we progress in the verses, okay, how Pandavas, when they were ruling also, they were filled with so much of love, right? Hmm? So, in that way, Maharaj Yudhishthir was not a mere tax collector. A mere tax collector, what he does, he just collects money. Okay, there's another modern view given by one of the political scientists that since it is almost impossible to train mass of people in political ideology and make them understand the complicated policies of modern democracy and modern economic systems. Okay, they are arguing now that the role of state should be reduced to what? Simple things like say probably collect tax and disperse. So very unfortunate, right? See today they're not having the right solutions at all because the concept of training is missing. The concept of the fact that intelligence is differently there for different sets of people. Not everybody is intelligent, and hence intelligence requires responsibility. In the famous verse of Kamam Vavasya Parjanya, Sarva Kama Dukamahi, which will come in the next 5 verses, Prabhupada talks about the linear hierarchy of intelligence. If somebody is more intelligent, he has some more responsibility. That's why in the Vedic system, the Brahmanas, who are considered to be the highest intelligent people, they are forbidden to have more money. Because if you have more money, you will not be independent. Right? So for Brahmanas, independence is given more priority. If a Brahmana accepts any job anywhere, he is considered immediately as a Shudra. Okay? A Brahmana cannot take any position which employs him with for money. So hence, Brahmanas are respected. Okay, because they're highly intelligent, they're not going to use their intelligence to harm me, right? I'm an ordinary person, right? I'm not so intelligent, but the Brahmanas are so intelligent. But at least, even if they are intelligent, they're not going to harm me at least. Whether they'll protect me or not is a different thing. At least they'll not harm me with their intelligence. But today that's another unfortunate situation. All the IITs, IIMs, people are getting educated so well to do what? Increase of sense gratification. Increasing of sense gratification means what? Aggrandizement. Increase of greed. Increase of greed means what? Take away from money from others, right? Take away resources from others and to enjoy oneself. These are all forbidden for those who are highly intelligent. And for the highly intelligent, what was the goaling? The goaling was go internal, Atma Truptaha, Atmarati, like that. So that kind of goalings were given for those who are highly intelligent. Okay, they had some internal goals and they had some external goals of guiding the society towards the direction of that Atmarati and Atma Truptaha. Now comes the next level of intelligent people. That is the Kshatriyas or the administrators, the kings, who are all trained to believe that they are not fully intelligent, they are not on their own, okay, and they need the guidance of somebody who are more intelligent and who are more independent. Okay, so Brahmanas are so independent that getting four or five Brahmanas together and living them together itself is a big project for the king, because they are so independently thoughtful. They are so independently thoughtful, and the king used to have a big counselors, okay, and they are all trained counselors. Unlike the modern system where you know where based on the assumption that there will be a lot of ignorant people, few people start controlling the state. Hmm? Correct. Now, when RSS became so powerful and then it has influenced the BJP, there's so much of discussions are happening. That the country, the BJP somehow got the power, democratic rule, and all of those things and all. But entire society is ignorant. Now this RSS will put its agenda. So it means they already know democracy is not working. They know that democracy is not working, and they know that there will be some people who, with that ideological leaning, will go and influence. But is that possible in such kind of a society where there are intelligent Brahmanas who are not bothered about earning money for themselves, who are completely simple in their lifestyle? Okay, they are completely non-envious with all the agenda of earning money and things like that, and they will have enough opinions. Actually, when democracy was created in the Greek history, if you see, it all started with when they saw that monarchy was failing, and secondly, they saw that there are so many citizens who are enlightened about their vote and rights, and they can actually participate in the voting system. It is not a universal adult franchise in those days initially. But later on, it became like that, and they saw that it is better to have a universal adult franchise than few set of people who we don't know who is that person who is enlightened, who is not enlightened, who will see whether a person is enlightened or not. These kind of situations arose, and hence, kind of today we have come into a democratic system where it is a kind of a failure. So, what is the solution? What does Srila Prabhupada say? What is the solution? Yes, we should have a monarchy. We should have a great king. But where is that king, yeah? Who is going to find that king? Huh? And how will that king become a king when there are so many weapons, so many ways of killing each other? How he will become a king? So, what is the practical solution? What does Srila Prabhupada say? Hmm? Anybody, online, offline, would like to volunteer? What's the practical solution?
Yudhiṣṭhira Prabhu, one of the suggestions of, or rather observations of Srila Prabhupada is, for example, the Krishna conscious people should be heading the institutions.
Hmm.
And he used to give the example of justice. The person who can be a judge,
Hmm.
who is Krishna conscious, the way he'll approach is very different. So, which means that people with Krishna consciousness should come into the public more and more.
Yes, that's a very good point. So there are many public institutions. In those public institutions, Krishna conscious devotees should become the leaders in those institutions. Okay, that's one very valid point. What is the other one?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, may I try?
Ah, yes,
Prabhu,
Mataji.
the education system needs to be revamped.
Yes, very interesting observation. Education system is also another important system that needs to be revamped into making them identify their roles and things like that. Yes. What else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it is in the education system also the type of knowledge which is being taught also has to be modified. Right now we are focusing more on phenomenal knowledge. The nominal knowledge is not at all taken into consideration at all. So there has to be more emphasis and focus on the nominal knowledge.
Yes, yes. That is also a very interesting observation. What else Srila Prabhupada has told? Yes, interesting observation that nominal knowledge also has to be put in because people don't, the students are not even taught that there is a philosophical way of life, of living. There are so many philosophers, right? Whether or not we'll accept the Gaudiya Siddhantic understanding or not, but at least there are so many different ways of thinking that people are not aware, right? People are not aware, the students are not aware, right? I was not aware till I finished my 10th standard that there is a different philosophies exist. Okay. I was aware only the scientific way of only his way of living is the only way. I was not even aware. Okay, great. Yes. What are the other things? Let's look at what Prabhupada has given a solution for this problem of today's problem.
Prabhupada said Varnashrama system, no? He has
Yes.
emphasized on the Varnashrama system of
Yes,
life.
Prabhupada also said that Varnashram system should be brought back. Okay. What else? What else? Something very interesting Prabhupada has give a different perspective.
Spirituality starts when science ends.
Spirituality starts when science ends. Okay, no, we cannot agree or disagree. These are more, debatable topics.
Leader should be following these principles strictly.
Leader should be following these principles strictly. But when will the leader have that incentive to follow that principles?
Actually, Prabhupada gave an example when Tata, those kind of people used to come. We need to introduce them to the Krishna conscious. Best example is Alfred Ford. If they become Krishna conscious, then automatically the Rajya also will become Krishna conscious.
So you are trying to say, go and influence the political leaders in a Krishna conscious manner. Yes.
It is hard, but
yes, that's that's a very important principle. How Christianity has expanded, how Islam has expanded. Huh?
correct.
Right? For the first few number of decades, Christianity was not spreading until the King Constantine takes up the Christianity as his official state religion. Then Christianity spreads, right? Yes, that's also a very important principle you're talking about that we should go and influence the political leaders. What else? I'm sure you are aware of the solutions.
Create first class Brahmanas.
Yes, we should create first class Brahmanas who are independently thoughtful, who are not looking about for only acquisition of money. They are looking for ideal values in the society. The emphasis should be more on values, value driven than on money driven. Yes, these are all important. What else? I'm trying, you're all giving right answers. I'm trying to see if you all can get a one very good answer which Prabhupada also talked about. Okay, I'll just give a clue. When will democracy be successful? What is the fundamental assumption of democracy? That voters are enlightened.
Where voters is.
Voters are enlightened, right? So, if the state at large, society at large, if people have taken up to Krishna consciousness, means if we are able to spread the Krishna conscious message to that extent across the world, across the state, then automatically
Leaders will
democracy also will become pakka, because the leaders also has to listen to the citizens. The citizens are also enlightened about that, conscious about their duty, right? So like this is there all through the next we'll end now here. If anybody has any questions, in the next few sessions we will be discussing more about these things. Actually, nowadays we have enough technology to study and understand what other secular theories are talking about. I would request all of you to spend some time to do a research. When Prabhupada says putting such kind of a bold statements, we should ideally spend time to check and corroborate whether what Prabhupada is saying is right. If Prabhupada is saying is right, as of course we cannot question the authority of the spiritual master, but still we have to apply our intelligence, right? We should not surrender our intelligence. We should check, we should corroborate those with how the modern secular ideologies are also concurring with Srila Prabhupada's views. There is now a new concept called as epistocracy. Instead of democracy, there is something called as epistocracy. Okay, we will discuss this next time. It's very, very interesting concepts are there. It has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. Huh? Without even touching non-secular ideological things like Krishna consciousness, using purely secular ideas like this epistocracy, one can defeat the idea of democracy. Like say, when we say Darwin is wrong, hey, you religious people are all belief people, they'll say. Now we'll say, no sir, there's some ideology called as, what is that, design theory. What is the design theory? Intellectual design theory. Okay. So wherein that, there is a design in the universe is being proved by the scientists. So let one ideology of the scientists defeat the other ideology of atheistic ideologies of the scientists. Simple. So we should thoroughly get educated with all of these things. I would request devotees to spend time in that. Okay, if anybody has any questions, I would like to take. Otherwise, we'll end the session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, so how do we then create similarities between the ruling of a country versus the running of an organization? So, for example, within ISKCON also, there is a pseudo kind of a democracy of selection of even GBCs or other things. So, how do we correlate that? Though the difference is clearly that the people voting are better enlightened and are more Krishna conscious, but still it's not a monarchy in a way.
Yeah. So what Srila Prabhupada also has taken was, if you see, he has actually taken the democratic principles and applied it also. So wherein the temple presidents body, first of all, how the temple president gets elected, and then how the temple president again in turn elects the GBC, and the GBC body in turn governs the temple president. So there is a balance of powers between the temple president body and the GBC. While it is there, so the individual temple president is given full freedom to execute the whatever his particular Krishna conscious desires are, of course, after receiving the direction from the GBC, right? So very interestingly, that system is created by Srila Prabhupada. So just for the information of the devotees, way back in 2008, okay, when for many years, when we moved out of the other ISKCON and we started our own preaching. So in 2008, first what happened was like some whoever are the missionaries, full-time missionaries who have practiced for some X number of years were given the right to vote the temple presidents. Okay. So then they became the temple president body members, and these temple president body members in turn had voted the governing body members. There was some kind of a voting system was there. And then there's also a voting system which Prabhupada talks about it. So that system also was used to, vote on the GBCs. And among the GBC body, a particular governing body representative will represent a particular temple. Okay? No, not representative. Representative of the temple will be a temple president. He will oversee a particular governing body representative will oversee a temple functioning. So like this system is there. Now, if there is any concerns of a particular temple, the temple president will escalate the matters to the governing body representative. The governing body representative in turn will go to the governing body commission, GBC, if he is not able to solve the problem. And this will be debated and discussed and finally pass the resolution. And when a resolution is passed by the governing body, the governing body commission, GBC body, the resolution is further presented in the TP body, temple president's body, to get any other views or any kind of issues, considerations. And then if there are any views are presented in the temple president body meeting, those views are again considered by the GBC in its meeting and finally pass the resolution. So all these systems can exist, right? These systems also can be misused, right? So most important thing is, in the community of Vaishnavas is the love and compassion. When love and compassion are the basis, okay, all these kind of system and body also can nicely exist. The real challenge today in the democratic world is that there is no understanding deep within everybody's mind that I am related to others. They have no that kind of an understanding that I am part of God, everybody is part of God, and hence I have to love them. Right? So these kind of things are not there. Everybody is loving themselves. Everybody is loving how much they can earn their money, how much they can get out of that 5 years of ruling, right? And hence there is short-lived policies. Short-term goals are given more important than to long-term goals. These are the issues are there. Yeah. So to answer your question to you, Kshitish Prabhu, yes, similarly in the corporates and various other institutions, it is quite feasible to apply these principles of, the more a person is intelligent, the more a person should become responsible in execution of his duties. So we will go through that, we will go through that. I don't want to spell the beans right away. In the first canto, chapter 10, text number 4, Kama Varsha Parjanya, it's a beautiful verse. Maybe you all can spend time to read that verse. It has a lot of clear understanding given. With that, we will stop now. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.